Let me start by saying this clearly. You are not inconsistent because you're lazy. You're not inconsistent because you lack discipline. And it's not because you're broken. You're inconsistent because your nervous system does not yet trust your leadership. And in a universal year one, that becomes impossible to ignore. Because year one is not about improvement. It's about initiation. And initiation exposes every place where you start, but don't stay. So if you've been asking yourself, why can't I just stick to things? Why do I start strong and then drop off? Why does consistency feel so hard? This isn't a mindset issue. It's a relationship issue. The relationship between you and your word. And here's the truth most people miss. Consistency doesn't come from motivation. It comes from containment. Motivation is emotional. Containment is structural. Motivation asks, how do I feel today? Containment asks, what have I already decided? Energy body 3, the positive mind, governs your ability to hold a decision over time, even when your emotions fluctuate. And in a year one, this matters more than ever, because year one is when identity is formed. And identity is not formed by intention. It's formed by repetition. So when you keep starting and stopping, your system doesn't think I'm inconsistent. It thinks I don't know who I am yet. So let's dismantle the myth of willpower. Willpower assumes that your emotions will cooperate. Your energy will be stable. Your environment will support you. That's not how humans work. Willpower relies on activation, but consistency requires regulation. If your nervous system is dysregulated, you will seek relief, not follow through. And this is where spiritual people get stuck. They try to raise their vibration instead of stabilizing their system. They try to think their way into consistency instead of structuring their way into safety. Energy body 3 doesn't respond to hype. It responds to predictability. Let me call this out gently and honestly. Spiritual language often masks avoidance. Things like, I'm just waiting for alignment. I need to rest more. It doesn't feel expansive. I'm just listening to my intuition. And here's the hard truth. If your intuition only speaks when things get uncomfortable, that's not intuition. That's a nervous system seeking escape. True intuition doesn't collapse under structure. It stabilizes through it. In a year one, you don't wait for alignment. You create it through action. This is the part most people don't want to look at. Every broken promise to yourself, no matter how small, teaches your system something. It teaches, my word doesn't mean much. I can be negotiated with. I won't follow through. So when you later try to do something bigger, your body hesitates. Not because it's afraid of failure, but because it doesn't trust you to stay. That's why consistency feels heavy. Your system is protecting itself from disappointment. Now, March 2026 brings this into awareness because Energy Body 3 doesn't tolerate self-betrayal quietly. And year one amplifies it. So how do we fix consistency spiritually? It's not by doing more, not by pushing harder, not by forcing discipline. You shrink the container. You make commitments so small your system doesn't panic. You anchor them to time and place. Same time, same action, same rhythm. Consistency is not about intensity. It's about reliability. One promise kept daily, non-negotiable. This rebuilds trust faster than anything else. So ask your body, where do I resist structure? Is it in the mornings, evenings, movement, creation, rest? Resistance is not laziness. It's information. It tells you where containment is missing or where you've overpromised in the past. Energy Body 3 wants honesty, not perfection. So sit upright, feet grounded, hands on your thighs. Inhale for 4 and exhale for 6. And simply say, nice and quietly, I choose one thing. I do it consistently. I rebuild trust with myself. Let your body respond. No forcing, no emotion required. Here's the year one truth. How you begin is how your system expects it to go. So don't begin dramatically. Begin honestly. Choose one thing you can sustain, even on hard days. That's how identity is built. Not through ambition, through repetition. You don't need more motivation. You need containment. You need structure. You need fewer promises kept well. March is not asking you to become disciplined. It's asking you to become trustworthy to yourself. And that changes everything. Now, if this landed, if you can feel where you overpromised and underhold, this month is powerful for rebuilding structure and boundaries gently but firmly. You don't need fixing. You need support holding yourself differently. And that work begins with consistency. So let's get something clear right now. Inconsistency is not random. It's patterned. And patterns come from learning, not laziness. Your nervous system learned inconsistency as a survival strategy. That's why trying to discipline yourself hasn't worked. You're fighting a protective mechanism, not a flaw. Energy Body 3 holds the memory of how safe it was or wasn't for you to make a decision, take initiative, follow through, be visible in your commitment. And in a year one, those memories come online fast. For many people, consistency wasn't rewarded growing up. You may have learned that staying predictable made you a target. Commitment led to pressure, not criticism. Success attracted envy or control. Being seen meant being judged. So your system learned. Start, but don't stay. Starting gave you hope. Staying made you visible. And visibility didn't feel safe. So now, as an adult, your system says, I'll begin, but I won't anchor. Not because you don't care, but because staying feels dangerous. Energy Body 3 remembers this. Another common pattern, you learned early that promises don't mean much. Maybe adults said things and didn't follow through. Rules changed constantly. Consistency was demanded of you, but not modelled. So your nervous system learned. Words are flexible. Commitments are negotiable. Nothing is stable. And now, when you make a promise, even to yourself, your body doesn't register it as real. Not because you're dishonest, because you were never taught integrity through repetition. Year one exposes this because it demands something new. You becoming the stable adult your system never had. Some people don't struggle with starting. They struggle with how much they start. You may overcommit, overpromise, or even overreach. Not because you're ambitious, but because your nervous system equates doing more with being worthy. So you set yourself up to fail. And when you inevitably can't sustain it, you internalize the failure instead of questioning the container. Energy Body 3 doesn't want grand gestures. It wants sustainable beginnings, especially in a year one. Now, Universal Year 1 brings initiation pressure. It asks, what are you beginning? What identities are you forming? What are you building now that will echo forward? So any resolved initiation trauma gets activated. You may feel a rush of get it right, anxiety around starting, fear of choosing the wrong thing, paralysis disguised as overthinking. This isn't because you're failing year one, it's because year one is asking you to initiate differently. Not from adrenaline, not from urgency, but from self-trust. Here's the shift most people miss. You don't rebuild self-trust by promising more. You rebuild it by keeping fewer promises consistently. Your system needs proof, not a pep talk. So instead of asking, what should I be doing? Ask, what can I sustain even when I don't feel like it? That's your starting point. Energy Body 3 strengthens through kept agreements, especially boring ones, especially small ones, especially daily ones. So let's bring this into the body. Close your eyes for a moment. Feel the difference between the excitement of starting and the steadiness of staying. Notice which one feels more uncomfortable. For most people, it's the staying, because staying requires trust. Starting requires hope. Year one asks you to trade hope for embodiment. So say this slowly, silently, or out loud. I don't need to rush. I don't need to prove. I begin in ways I can sustain. Let your system hear it. Energy Body 3 is listening. Ask yourself, where do I start things but avoid staying? What am I afraid of? What am I afraid will happen if I become consistent? Who would I become if I trusted myself? These aren't mindset questions. They're identity questions. Year one asks them through action, not analysis. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are not failing initiation. You are learning how to begin safely. And that is a powerful thing. Consistency isn't about force. It's about trust. And trust is built one kept promise at a time. Now, most advice around consistency is built for a nervous system that already feels safe. It assumes you trust yourself. Your body doesn't associate commitment with danger. Structure feels neutral or supportive. And that's not true for most people listening to this. For many, structures feel like pressure, loss of freedom, being trapped, being watched, or being judged. So when someone says, just be consistent, your nervous system hears, override yourself, and it rebels. Energy Body 3 does not strengthen through domination. It strengthens through commitment that feels safe, especially in a year one where everything is new and untested. Force says, do it no matter how you feel. Structure says, this is small enough to hold even when I don't feel good. Force relies on adrenaline. Structure relies on rhythm. Force burns you out. Structure builds you up. If consistency has felt exhausting in the past, it's because you were forcing a system that needed regulation, not pressure. Now, year one is seductive. It makes you want to reinvent everything. Start fresh in dramatic ways. Overhaul your life. But Energy Body 3 has one requirement. Start in a way you can continue. Not when you're inspired, not when you're well rested, not when life is calm. Continue when you're tired, when you're emotional, when you're irritated, when you'd rather not. That's how trust is rebuilt. There are 3 elements your nervous system needs for consistency to feel safe. 1 is time anchoring. Same time, every day, all same days, same rhythm. Your body relaxes when it knows when something's happening. 2 is energy matching. The task must match your lowest energy day, not your best one. If you cannot do it on a bad day, it's too big. 3 is identity reinforcement. Every repetition must quietly say, this is who I am now. Not I'm trying, not I should, but this is me. This is Energy Body 3 maturing. Now, routine often gets a bad reputation in spiritual spaces. People think routine kills the magic. But routine is what allows magic to land in the body. Randomness keeps your nervous system scanning. Routine tells it you're safe, you're held. This is especially important in a year one because your system is already dealing with newness. Routine gives your identity somewhere to anchor. And from that anchor, expansion becomes possible later. So let's slow this down. Place one hand on your chest and one hand on your lower belly. Breathe slowly, in through the nose and out through the mouth. And ask yourself, what would consistency feel like if it was safe? Not impressive, not productive, but safe. Notice what comes up. Your body knows the answer. Your mind may argue. Let it. Energy Body 3 listens to the body first. One of the biggest consistency killers is perfectionism. If it can't be done properly, you don't do it at all. But Energy Body 3 doesn't need perfect. It needs present. Done gently counts. Done tired counts. Done imperfectly counts. Consistency is not about performance. It's about continuity. And continuity builds trust. Here's the subtle but powerful shift March is asking for. Stop asking, how do I stay consistent? And start asking, who am I when I do this regularly? Identity leads, behavior follows. When you act from identity, you don't negotiate every time. You just show up. So reflect on this honestly. What have I been forcing that needs shrinking? Where have I been confusing intensity with commitment? What is one rhythm I can stabilize this month? Let the answer be simple. Energy Body 3 grows through simplicity. Consistency does not require more effort. It just requires less chaos, less negotiation, less overpromising, and less self-betrayal. March is not asking you to hustle your healing. It's asking you to contain your becoming. And that is how burnout ends. Up until now, we've talked about trauma patterns, nervous system safety, containment, rebuilding self-trust. But here's the deeper initiation. Consistency is not something you achieve. It's something you embody. And embodiment happens when behavior and identity align. Most people try to be consistent so that one day they can feel confident. But it actually works the other way round. You become confident because you're watching yourself follow through. Year 1 is the year where identity is built through repetition. Not vision boards, not declarations, not energetic downloads. Repetition. This is the uncomfortable truth. Anyone can be consistent when they're inspired. Identity is formed on the tired days, the emotional days, the distracted days, the days you'd rather scroll or avoid. Energy Body 3 strengthens every time you show up anyway. Not aggressively, not forcibly, but steadily. When your body sees you return again and again, it starts to relax. And from relaxation, confidence is born. There comes a point in spiritual maturity where you stop asking, do I feel like it? And you start asking, is this who I am? That's the shift. Energy Body 3 doesn't eliminate emotion. It simply stops letting emotion be the authority. In a universal year 1, this matters because you are laying foundations. If you negotiate your identity daily, your foundations stay unstable. If you hold it consistently, your nervous system stabilizes around it. And here's something people don't talk about enough. Consistency is not loud. It's not flashy and it's not dramatic. It's deeply attractive, deeply regulating, and deeply powerful. When someone is consistent, you feel safe around them. You know what to expect. You trust their word. Now ask yourself, do you feel that way about you? Because that's what March is actually asking. Self-respect is not boundary statements. It's behavioral integrity. It's waking up and doing the thing you said you would. It's not over-explaining when you say no. It's not over-promising to be light. Energy Body 3 is where self-respect becomes embodied. And year 1 amplifies that because this is the year of I move first, I choose, I lead. Not loudly, not aggressively, but internally. March may feel like a quiet grief. The grief of the version of you who started everything, finished little, relied on emotional highs, waited for rescue. That version kept you safe in the past. But year 1 says you are no longer surviving, you are building. And builders can't rely on mood, they rely on rhythm. So sit upright again, feet grounded, spine long, chin level. Breathe slowly, again in through the nose and out through the mouth. And say silently, I am someone who follows through. I trust myself. I build slowly and steadily. Notice how your body responds. If there's resistance, that's okay. Energy Body 3 doesn't demand belief. It requires repetition. The belief will come later. March 2026 is not about becoming impressive. It's about becoming reliable. Reliable to your body, word, commitment, and identity. Choose fewer things and repeat them. Stop renegotiating yourself. Let the rhythm build the confidence. Now, if this video stirred something, if you can feel where structure, boundaries, and self-trust need strengthening, this is the month to work on containment. Not expanding your life, but stabilizing it. When your foundation is solid, everything else grows naturally. You don't need to fix yourself. You need to hold yourself. And that's what consistency really is. Now, before we go, take a moment to notice something. If anything in this video stirred you, if you felt seen, called out, steadied, or even slightly uncomfortable, that's not random. That's your system responding to truth. And if this kind of grounded, no-nonsense spiritual guidance supports you, I would love for you to like this video. It helps this work reach the people who need it. Subscribe so you can stay connected to these videos as we move through this year of initiation together. And comment below, even one word. Let me know what landed for you or where you're choosing stability, consistency, or stronger boundaries this month. This isn't passive content. It's a practice, a relationship, a recalibration. And the more you engage with it, the more it works with you. I'm so glad you're here. Let's keep building this steadily, consciously, together. Until next time, bye for now.